In these problems, we are multiplying 3-digit or 4-digit numbers by 1-digit numbers. And there are two different ways that you might approach this. One is sort of the traditional method where you're going to multiply this 3 by the ones column, and then the tens column, and then the hundreds column, and carry anything in your answer that gets into a tens column. And I'll show you how that works. The other method that I'd suggest that you try is to break this into 3 different problems, easier problems, and then add them together. So we're going to think of 462 as 400 plus 60 plus 2, and multiply each of those things by 3 and then add them together. I'll show you how all of this works. First, let's do this in the traditional way. The very first step is to take this 3 and multiply it by the ones column. So in my head, I'm thinking 3 times 2, and that equals 6. So we put the 6 down here. In this case, I don't have to carry anything up to the next column because this number is less than 10. So there's no tens value to put up here on the next column. So I just am ready to move on to the tens column. So the next part of the problem is 3 times 6. 3 times 6, and that equals 18. So what's in the ones here of my answer, I put down here. So that's where the 8 goes. This in the tens column of my answer, I've got to carry that. So this 1 gets carried up to the next column over, which is the hundreds column. So I'll put the 1 above the 4 there. Okay, now we're ready to move on to the hundreds column. So the next part of this is 3 times 4, and I know that equals 12. And we do have something that we carried here, so we've got to add 12 plus 1, and that's 13. Now, you might think you have to carry this 1 further, but since there's nothing to carry it to, at that point you can just write that whole number down. So the 13 just gets written there, and our answer is 1,386. Now, the other way to do this you might find is a little bit easier, especially if you start practicing doing this in your head, you can get pretty quick at it. So we're going to think of 462 as 400 plus 60 plus 2, and we're going to multiply each of those parts by 3 and then try to add them back together. So 400 times 3 is 1200. 60 times 3 is 180. So what I did there is I just multiplied the number part. 3 times 4 is 12, and then put the trailing zeros on the end. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 trailing 0 is 180. And then 2 times 3, of course, is 6. So now our problem comes down to 1200 plus 180 plus 6. And let's see, 1200 plus 180, that would be 1380, plus 6 would be 1386. And look at that, we got the same answer. I think the second way is a little bit quicker, but you should decide whatever works best for you. All right, let's try maybe a harder one. We've got a 4-digit number, 4,639, and we're going to multiply that by 2. Let's do it the traditional way first. So we'd start with 2 times what's in the ones column here, 2 times 9, that equals 18. So here the 8 gets written down, the 1 gets carried. Next problem, 2 times the tens column, so 2 times 3 is 6, and then we have to add what we carried, so that's 7, and that's what goes down here. Now, nothing to carry with the 7, so we can just go on to the hundreds column, so 2 times 6, that's 12, so we have to write down the 2 and carry the 1 to the next column. And then we've got 2 times 4, that's 8, and we have a 1 that we carried that we have to add to that, so that's 9. So 4,639 times 2 is 9,278. So that took a few steps. Let's try this the other way and see if you think it's any faster. So 4,000 plus 600 plus 30 plus 9, and we're going to multiply all of those by 2. Okay, so 4,000 times 2, that's pretty easy, that's 8,000. 600 times 2, that's 1,200. 2 times 30, that's 60, and 2 times 9, that's 18. Now, adding these together might be a little tougher. Let's see, 8,000 plus 1,200, will that be 9,200? I'm just going to jot this down as I go, and then plus 60 more would be 9,260, and plus 18, that would be 9,278. And yeah, we got the same answer. So which one works faster for you? Practice a few, try it out, and see what you like. But that's a little bit of work with multiplying uh, 3 and 4 digit numbers by 1 digit numbers.